You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We're going live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. How about roll? Don't chase me, bro! It's a trap! I'm a firing believer! Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man!
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. With me, I have Cian. How are we doing, Cian?
I'm very good. Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year to you too.
Apologies for people who may be listening to this like somewhere in March. I don't know what our release schedule is.
It's New Year somewhere. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's true.
Well, if you're listening to this in January 2024, January 2025, January 38, 26, we are here this week, I think, specifically to take a look back at, do a year in review of 2023. Because I think it's fair to say that it was a big year for pretty spectacle releases. I think a lot of things that were held through the pandemic really kind of came to bloom here in a big way compared to 21, 22.
Yeah, but as you pointed out before we started recording, it was also a year of the writer's strike. And also, although no one noticed, it was Disney's 100th anniversary. So it was sort of a big ebb and flow type year. Like,
you say that. I don't know if Disney remembered it was their 100th anniversary because did you see Wish? Because I don't think anybody else saw Wish.
No. Like lots of the kids actually saw like Elemental, but like no, I don't know anyone who's seen Wish actually.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be the like love letter to the 100th year of Disney. And
I did see lots of ads for Wish because I saw like the Paw Patrol movie and stuff, and like they not only did they do a Wish trailer, but they did an entire Disney 100 years trailer with Wish in it. So like they were I felt like they were trying to make it like the Avengers Endgame of Disney movies, you know?
I haven't, now this is coming from somebody who has not seen it, for the record. But by all accounts, it's like trying to be reminiscent of very classical Disney.
I have listened to the soundtrack for what it's worth.
Yeah, what people would know as like, the Renaissance Disney. So you have the princess, you have the adventure, you have the villain, you have the songs, but by all accounts, none of it lands.
Right.
I will come back with a judgment when it comes up on screen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only going by the trailer, but like certainly there wasn't like a huge urge to go see it. It felt a bit like, I mean, I know it's an overdone thing, but it did feel like a bit like an AI wrote it, just like punch in the whimsical talking animal character, put in the song sung by a well-known celebrity who's a villain. Put in
very
girl who has a dream.
Enter Disney
because when you wish upon a star,
Yeah, very, hey, Mr. Computer, make me a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I get in some respect, but if it's like your big tentpole thing, like, why, like, where's that Encanto excitement, Like,
yeah, where's the Moana
magic? Talent involved, like.
Yeah, no, it felt very much like a last minute, we need to make a movie.
Yeah.
But
and look, maybe things will change. Like, with Encanto and even Moana when it came out, like they were kind of slow burns that found their audience after a couple of months. But I don't see it happening for this one somehow.
No, I think the critical response is already kind of browbeaten this. So better luck next time, Disney.
Oh
but
yeah. Disney, you pour down on
you
your
pour
luck.
down on your luck. Well, I mean, hey, they're losing their flagship character, so
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's going to be one of the things to see in 2024. The same thing that happened to Winnie the Pooh this year will happen to Mickey
oh, there's
Mouse.
already been the horror movie Steamboat Willie announcement. I think it's called Infestation
Yeah.
88, and it looks terrible.
What do you think? Do you think it was a case the script was written and they were just waiting, or do you
Almost
think that,
certainly.
like they just threw it together really quickly?
Oh, almost certainly. Like as soon as there was the announcement it was coming up on that the Steamboat Willie Mickey was coming up on copyright, people were saying it was like, oh, we're getting a Blood and Honey. This is there's no escaping it. And you know what?
Genre.
I can't even judge it because that's just what public domain is. You can. It's just up to the people to decide if it's bad or not.
You will go
But-
see it then, yeah?
Absolutely not. But let's talk about movies that people actually did go and see last year. I think it is fair to start with the headliners. I think to best call them as last year. Who didn't go to see Barbenheimer?
I didn't get to see Barbie, unfortunately. I
Great
really
question.
wish
Yeah, you didn't.
No, I do know all the songs because I work in schools.
And that
So I've had to like work on dance numbers to every single song, but I haven't actually sat down and watched the film.
No wonder the Barbie soundtrack was the best album of last year.
Yes.
At least according to my Spotify Wrapped. But no, I think we've kind of gone into reviews of both, so we won't hammer on about.
No, but here's my question, because this might be the last time people talk about it for a while. Like, do you think that the Barbenheimer thing will have an effect on cinema? Do you think this is the thing that will bring people back, or is it like a weird novel blip?
I hope it brings people back, and I think while I think in the immediate aftermath we saw the studios learn the wrong lesson, like Warner Brothers and Mattel greenlighting a bunch of board game movies. What I think this shows is people having a hunger for author-driven movies, because that's the big thing that really connected these two, was that people knew Greta Gerwig and people knew Christopher Nolan, and people knew that these are going to be at least very well-made movies, and they're incredibly well-made, distinctive movies. And I think that's kind of the draw that brought people in.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the case that Barbie is technically a franchise character, but
certainly
this wasn't the case of going to see a Marvel thing for Marvel. You know, they were drawn in by the hype of themselves. You know,
yeah, like that's. I think there was a lot to be said. Obviously, Barbie brought in the crowd. I'm not going to deny that fact. That's why most of my friends went to see it.
No, but it's one thing to bring in the crowd; it's another for people to go back 5 or 6 times.
Exactly. Like I think you wouldn't have this staying power if it was the original script with Amy Schumer directing it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, that was the original. We could have lived in a very different universe.
It's out there somewhere.
Before Margot Robbie got the rights to it. So no, I think Greta Gerwig and Christopher Nolan were the draws for that. And obviously, it's just kind of one of those big once in a lifetime like cultural mixing pots of make the funny pink cowgirl and man in black suit be friends.
And yes, they were incredibly memeable. I've seen lots of clips of someone taking the last scene from Oppenheimer and putting Linkin Park's "What I've Done" underneath it, and it working surprisingly well. Oh, that is so wonderfully 2005. I love that. But no, it is. I definitely, again, what my takeaway, as much as I love both movies, what will be unforgettable to me was that cinema going experience of going and everyone being in pink and tie-dye and being in a packed out cinema. I mean, I agree. I didn't go to nearly as many films as you, but apart from Mario in its opening week, every time I've gone to the cinema, it's been quite empty. Yeah, a lot of what I've been to, I think the busiest screening I've went to since has been Wonka this week, which I think should say something else. Well, that has the benefit of it being the Christmas holidays and everyone's off, you know?
That's fair. It was a lot of kids. It's a surprisingly well behaved screening, actually, all things considering.
Yeah,
I will say nobody was taking pictures of themselves. The kids were mostly quiet. But yeah, to kind of go back through, I think, like as I said, like aside from obviously like the juggernauts of this year, I think there was a lot of other movies though that I think I would like to kind of bring back because they fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
One that I don't think got as much love as it really should have was the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I really
Yes, I watched that on streaming. I thought it was good.
It's thoroughly wonderful. And like it got the great critical reception, but it just didn't have the ground pull. I think they like obviously it came out before Barbie, but I think they were hoping for it to be a Barbie and a franchise starter. But no, it was so much fun and really got to the heart of what Dungeons and Dragons as a game and a concept is, which is just
the scene of asking the dead people questions really I think was the best embodiment of that, like
that or him using the illusion of himself to distract the guards and it goes wrong.
The horrible effects and all that.
I mean,
I appreciate that it resisted the urge to be this meta. Suddenly it's like the Lego movie where people are playing the game, man. Like, no, they actually kept it in a working universe, but still had the chaotic feel of playing it, which is a hard line to walk. Like,
yeah, no, I think it did incredibly well, and I'll always give a mark to something that uses heavy practical effects. Even if some of them are a little bit dodgy. That Tabaxi did not look a lot like a cat, but marks for trying.
Yeah, fair play to Chris Watts' face for actually mutating his face for that scene.
Okay, there was CGI. I won't pretend. Listen, I won't pretend there was no CGI. But again, where it was, like, you know, where else were you going to see a dragon that was that round?
What is the name of that Chris? There are so many Chris's.
Pine.
Chris Pine, thank you.
Pine, one of the good ones. And then in like on top of that, another one that I think did get about as much recognition, but another kind of like creatively driven movie that I think really stood out for me this year would have been John Wick 4.
I still haven't seen that, so that's I heard it's a bit of a return to form though.
I wouldn't say even a return to form. I think all four of them are excellent.
Okay, I heard the third one was a little bit skippable.
No, I'd say still go ahead with it. Like they're all a lot of fun, but this one definitely 4 stands out.
Yeah.
They definitely like where one was obviously its own kind of like the first in the draw and a spark and exciting. 2 and 3 follow that, are fun, but are kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in that they are all A+. Like,
yes.
4 really just ups the ante with the fight choreography and the designs and locations and the scale of the story and just kind of the dramatic weight of it all. Like this, it feels like the culmination of 4 movies of like this haggard man just trying to get by, but nobody will let him.
I'm still waiting for when a John Wick film comes out that's all one take, like 1917 style. It will happen eventually.
You're not wrong.
The fight sequences are getting more and more confident as time goes along. Like, and they were confident.
God, yeah. There's an incredible, like, there's so many great sequences, but like the standout is one section in an old dilapidated house where the camera just like sidles like upwards and gives you this top down view, and it becomes just like 10 minutes of watching them do a live action Hotline Miami. It's exceptional. Like it's incredible camera work. Like it is a game changer for action movies. Really, really standout work.
Okay, I'm also got to give a shot. I know we reviewed it, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is class.
I need to get to it. It looks so good.
Like you're the animation guy.
I know. I'm shocked that it's not on Paramount yet.
No, neither is Paw Patrol 2. I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, like that's I'm waiting.
And they
for
lost
it to
Star Trek.
go
They don't
somewhere.
have. They have all the Transformers movies except Bumblebee, the one I want to watch.
Same. No, like it's on my list. That is one I know I need to watch, but it looks incredible. To speak on it a bit more, if you don't mind.
No. Me and Dara already kind of covered it a few weeks ago, but just it's as somebody who does not know anything about the Ninja Turtles, it is a great introduction. It's a great animated film, and it's a really great representation of kids, of teenagers. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I've
they're not
heard it
all
really hones
cliche,
in on
they're
the
fun, they're
teenage.
charming, a bit jerky, like like they break into a school, having never been in the human world, and the first thing they want to do is join an anime society. Like it's they feel very for turtles. They feel very real, and the performances from the teen actors are great. Like,
Yeah, no, it's one I must watch. I'm shocked I haven't. I think actually I would have to say my like standout animated movie though this year. I've got to go back to Puss in Boots.
I forgot that was this year. You're right.
That was the very start of the year, and it like why? How does a Puss in Boots movie have any right to be that good?
Yeah.
to be that just so suddenly gorgeously animated in that like painterly 2D hybrid 3D style, but then also have this just really concise plot about the risk of mortality in a cat with 9 lives. Like,
you're absolutely right, and it's a gorgeous looking film. It's well acted, and like weirdly enough, has a lot in common with probably what's going to be our pick for the best animated film of the year, Chicken Run 2, I should say.
I have to watch that still, yeah.
Oh, you'd love it. Like, I won't give anything away, but like, I think because we talked about it before, but like, it's at one point at the start of the movie, my daughter was dancing to it. By halfway through, she was hiding behind the couch, and then she came back. It's actually quite freaky and scary in the middle, but in a really, really nice, exciting way,
Oh,
and
yeah, no,
and it's absolutely comparable to the original, which is a high mark to clear,
yeah, it's because it's Aardman again, isn't it? Right?
It is, but Aardman, like they're always consistent, but they're not always like outstanding.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make
5 times.
I just wanted to make sure it actually was like claymation, and
It was
yeah,
not all the voice actors are back, but it definitely. I said it in the last episode. The first, as Stevie put it, the first episode, Chicken Run was Great Escape. This is like 1960s The Prisoner. It's very freaky and psychedelic.
Cool.
And just has lots of weird twists and turns. And it's very funny and very charming.
Do you know what? Because that's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will probably watch that tomorrow. That's been kicking around on my list for a while now.
Watch it. And the first one's up there too, if you need to refresh your memory. Like,
oh, certainly. I might. It's been a while. If I may, I got one more movie that's just for me.
Sure.
Because there's no way I can get away with this without mentioning the fact that we finally got the Metalocalypse movie we've been wanting for the past 7 years. And by we, I do mean me and like 2 of my friends. But I am in absolute shock and awe that Adult Swim gave the green light on this, and that we finally got a conclusion. I think I brought this up, but the TLDR is that we got a
movie going for yonks, isn't it?
It was going for a few years.
Yeah,
they made a movie opera, like an hour long like music like animated opera that wrapped up some plot threads, but kind of left like the major stuff still dangling, and then very suddenly Adult Swim just axed the whole thing and said, no, you can't make any more Metalocalypse. And we were left in a limbo with the creator Brendan Small kind of ruminating on that and getting kind of vengeful in his solo projects for a while. And then eventually, after after a couple of years, some fire started getting lit, and eventually we got the announcement that yes, we're finally getting a Metalocalypse movie, and Army of the Doomstar. Like the whole premise of Metalocalypse is the most famous band in the world are a death metal band who are so big they are in themselves the world's 8th largest economy, and they're all absolute prima donnas. But this movie, like, there's something about it where it's watching these people who have been just defined as being absolute jerks actually feel genuine pathos, and then having this like big world shattering conclusion where they defeat essentially a god through the power of heavy metal. I'm it was spectacular and emotional, and I think I am more surprised that and I'm just shocked it happened, and I couldn't be happier.
I'll be honest, you say that plot, it sounds a bit like Turning Red.
Honest, not far off. less to do with women's puberty problems, but you're not far away.
Well, I mean, as I said, I haven't been to the cinema much that didn't involve either Paw Patrol or Super Mario or stuff, but I did watch a fair bit of TV. One thing that's worth pointing out that's newsworthy this week is Prime Video are adding, ads to their service you pay for. And I'm not upset about that in and of itself, but it highlights the fact that you and me, before recording, were bouncing back shows that came out this year. And it's so hard to watch them because there are now so many streaming services that not only are some hard to watch, I wasn't even aware of a great many of the popular ones, you know?
Some are incredibly hard to watch. Some are actively inaccessible in parts of the world because things like Max aren't available here. And even things that came out at the start of this year are no longer available on the service that supplied them. Like, there was a Willow TV show this year that has vanished from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't watch it. I think there was a Grease TV show that's gone.
That was on Paramount, wasn't it?
Yeah. Star Trek Prodigy very almost succumbed to the void.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the state of TV and streaming is precarious.
Yeah, we have covered this in other bits and pieces and other episodes, but I just think it's worth highlighting before things get worse.
So I think anything we recommend now, watch as soon as you can, because it could just vanish in a week.
And also, if we miss something, it's not because we don't think that any other shows are good. It's just that I only have room for so many services. I'm sure there's really good stuff out there, but I'm not aware of it, and I haven't paid for it, and I'm not going to pirate it.
Well, speaking of sailing the high seas,
there, didn't I?
You did. I like of the TV shows that stood out to me this year. I've like the one that jumps to me has got to be the live action One Piece. I think I brought up you never got around to watching it, did you?
Tragically not.
No. I think I won't dwell on it because I did talk about it in a previous episode, but it is an absolute wonder that it came out not only passable considering other live action adaptations of anime, but actually good and a good supplement to the original.
Right.
It benefits, it manages to hit that fine balancing act as something that you could go in blind and enjoy on its own merits, and something to go in and enjoy for fan service, being a longtime fan of the original manga and anime.
So there's something for everyone, basically.
There is something. It manages to do what we mentioned, Cowboy Bebop before, completely flopped at, and that it was for nobody because people who don't know were just people who've never watched it are confused, and people who have watched Cowboy Bebop are annoyed. No, it managed to hit that fine line where it's accessible and on its own merits. Yeah, great show. Definitely recommend it. Very excited to see what season 2 brings, especially when with places they go in season 2. Some of the much more cartoony aspects of One Piece. One of the main characters is a 3-foot tall moose man.
Well, why didn't you lead with that?
Because that's season 2. They got to figure that out. I'm not going to pretend I came up with this, but I'm fully behind Mother's Basement's petition to make him a Muppet. That's make Tony Chopper a Muppet. That's
well, I suppose maybe we'll go streaming service by streaming service. I should point out I have not seen The Last of Us. I know it is the most popular show of the year, but you know what? That is the cost of everything being. I've got 4 streaming apps, and it's not one of them. That is the kind of the state of play.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't have the budget for Now TV on top of everything else.
Yeah, I will say now, because in my last episode you were on, you broke down all of the like kind of sales figures for movies and stuff, and we did our top 10 thing. I know from having looked at Netflix numbers that the most popular show on Netflix this year, by a huge margin, was The Night Agent. Did you watch it?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I think I
Everyone
heard-
I knew, everyone I work with in school, every parent, every teacher had watched it, which is so bizarre because it's not like got huge big name actors. It's not a franchise. It's just this thing that everyone collectively watched at once for some reason.
No, I didn't, and a lot of people I know did, but it does have. There's something about that kind of like John le Carre type spy thriller that just has like the energy of everyone's dad definitely watched it.
Yeah, like I know there was like an American film like Sound of Freedom or something that kind of got by on the same energy, but like as well as some political stuff. But yeah, no, I watched Night Agent. It's fine. It's good. It's very bingeable. I've seen lots of things like it before. It wasn't like a Stranger Things where you watched it and you thought, why has no one ever done this before? But it was very, very good. And I could see why it became as popular as it did, because it's one of those kind of shows that can kind of appeal to everyone without specifically appealing to anyone. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
kind of
like the-
threads that needle like.
There's a lot to be said about just doing something that is known and doing it incredibly well. Like,
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah. So I feel like that definitely deserves a mention. For my Netflix picks, I really like the Black Mirror season that came out this year. Everyone's forgotten it already.
You
but it
did.
was
No,
really good.
you and my fiance really enjoyed it. I just never dipped my toes in a Black Mirror, so I never think to jump into it.
Well, I mean, like, it's all anthologies. You can just pick up wherever you want, you know?
yeah, but also I don't want to be upset all the time.
Well, that's life, Kev. Go
Or
enjoy hanging out with stretchy anime pirates, but this is the real world, man.
I absolutely will. That's I 100% will.
Well, since we already covered that, I don't think we ever covered The Witcher in great detail.
No,
Um,
because I think I only actually got around to watching it last week.
I mean, as a sort of fantasy counterpart to The Mandalorian, I enjoyed it. I didn't always follow it, if I'm being honest, but it's one of those shows that is well acted and is very pretty. And I kind of like having it on in the room. I know that's not like high praise.
No, I think like in terms
But,
of
like,
kind
you
of
know what I mean? It's very relaxing and enjoyable for something that involves stabbing and blood and guts and all.
Oh
that.
yeah, no, I think like because I think that it's fair to say that like Game of Thrones, even after its debacle of an ending, kind of left a bit of a vacuum for fantasy that a lot of people have been really trying to fill with some things like the Rings of Power and the Wheel of Time. And I think The Witcher, it's not trying to be Game of Thrones, but it's filling that fantasy itch.
No, and it's also different. Like Game of Thrones has quite a lot of political intrigue and world building.
Oh yeah,
And
no.
as someone who only kind of came and went as my wife watched The Witcher, you can kind of pick it up anywhere, and you know who your three main characters are, and go, right, I get the gist of it. You know, it's a fun show to watch. You know, and that's quite a difficult thing to do for a fantasy thing.
That's it. And I think like it's Netflix are obviously putting enough resources into it to pay off the scale of some of the fantasy worlds, especially considering one of the big draws of it is monster hunting.
Yes, and all the effects and monsters look great and everything. It should be said, like
yeah. So no, it was great, and I think, but I mean, all going said and well, I couldn't help but watch this new season and have the thought hanging over my head of, oh, this is the last Henry Cavill we'll see as Geralt.
Yeah, I was expecting him to regenerate or have something happen that's sort of organically bridged one to the other. But no.
It's so funny because they were very close to being able to do that.
Yeah.
Not to spoil too much, but there is a sequence where he gets his stuff rocked.
Yes.
And has to go lay down and heal for the better part of a month.
Yeah,
And what, like that's the end of like, and that's the end of the second main book in the series.
right.
But the show goes for another like 3 episodes after that. And like it's very funny. Like they could have just had Liam Hemsworth wake up in Brocklin Forest and be like, well, that's just Geralt now. No, I think they're gonna just kind of what it feels like is that they're just gonna kind of have Liam Hemsworth show up and just kind of assume the audience will understand that that's just a different actor.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think, considering he was kind of the ground force behind this entire show getting made, I'm upset to see him go. I will give Liam Hemsworth a shot.
Yeah. That's all you can do, like, you know. But moving on, unless you've got something else, I suppose we covered Scott Pilgrim recently enough, but that was another big Netflix. That's
just a shout out of a show that rocked well up and beyond my expectations. In terms of just something that is so gorgeous and changes the script.
Yes.
But yeah, we only recently did a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
You should go listen to that.
Yes. I'll cover a few things from other streamings very quickly. Sorry to put across you there. Did you watch Gen V, the new The Boys spin-off thing?
I haven't yet. It's been on my list. I know you gave it a glowing recommendation.
I finished it this week. And to be honest, I kind of prefer it. I know that's like a very bandwagon-y thing to say, but like because it's from the point of view of these not well-off teenagers in a school, like whenever someone like the Deep or the Homelander shows up, it really feels more dangerous because they don't have that like plot armor. And because they're not connected to any of the main characters, you sort of get like a better view on the world. You get like a better view of the celebrity thing. The characters are all very well realized. It moves at a nicer clip than I think the main. Don't get me wrong, The Boys is still great. Like, but I was really surprised by this. I just expected it to be a bit of a fluffy spin-off, but I was seriously drawn into it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, it's on my list. I have to get around to it. It's the problem being is that Prime is never the first thing I think to open.
Yes.
So it's never just kind of there in my face.
Unless you need to rewatch Series 8 of Charmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Buffy musical episode.
Unless I go specifically to watch Saltburn and be absolutely disgusted.
I need to watch that. Yeah, that was another big one this year.
Just big on at 5 energy. I loved it. I cannot in good conscience recommend it.
Don't worry, I got you covered. Did you watch the Frasier relaunch this year, by the way? I've been trying to talk about it for weeks.
No, I haven't. It's another one of those ones where every time I open up Paramount, I think I should watch that, and then I turn on Deep Space Nine.
Well, all the episodes are out, so you've no excuse. I will say I was expecting it to be dire, but once you get past 2 kind of shaky episodes, it gets pretty good pretty quickly.
Because I heard it's a buddy comedy of like him and. Was it Del Boy from...
Rodney.
Rodney from Only Hills and Horses, which is just a surprising pull, but...
Nicholas Lyndhurst has been kind of in the same Broadway productions as Kelsey Grammer for years. They have a chemistry coming into it, like...
Yeah.
But I think they were in like some kind of Man La Mancha production together or something like that. But no, it's to kind of give the basic premise of it. It's what every update does. It put Frasier in the role of the dad. His son has given up being an intellectual, and now he's like a schlummy fireman. Like, they're living together, and it has all the promise of something awful, and that seems to be what you're getting. But once it sort of finds its rhythm, it's actually pretty good. It feels like an organic continuation without just being a do-over. Like, it's. You've got are you up on your Frasier? Like, did you watch it? Like
bits whenever it was on like Sky back in the day. I haven't sat down and watched all of Frasier, I'll say.
No, but okay. But basically, the rough premise is that he's living with his son because he wants to reconnect with him now that Frasier's dad has passed on, and he's moved back to Boston. So you've got a little bit of Cheers influence there too.
Yeah.
And it kind of jumps around between Frasier now being a university professor at Harvard, and like he has to get past his own celebrity ego because he's basically been a Dr. Phil figure for the last 20 years. So he has to kind of get over himself in that respect. He has to come to terms with his age. You've got Nicholas Lyndhurst, Rodney, who is one of those professors who is perpetually drunk but has tenure.
Yes.
And just doesn't care, and like takes even the worst jokes and makes them sing. But equally, you've got like the Sun's community of firemen characters. You have like the overachieving nephew, who's the son of Fraser Hyde Pierce. Like there's
okay.
Yeah, you've got one character which me and Stevie don't quite have sussed out, which is she's the son's best friend, and she's a single mother, but she's also an actor and also works a bar at night. And you're like, okay, we have kids. That's impossible.
Yeah.
And we never see the kid.
Even in the fantasy of the TV show, that's unbelievable. Yeah.
But like it feels like she should be two separate characters, but that's not a knock against the actor, like, you know. But no, it's pretty solid. And whenever they do bring in someone from Frasier, it feels earned. And like we said, after kind of 1 or 2 episodes of being a bit wobbly, a bit playing it safe, it got us laughing. We ended up looking forward to it every week. And it ends on a really nice Christmas special. Like, it's got all the charm of the original without feeling like a retread. I'm not sure how much you'd get out of it if you didn't watch Frasier originally. But it is as sequel shows go, it is very, very good.
I'd say I think it's fair to say I watched enough Frasier I could probably get it.
Yeah.
Like I watched enough Frasier where the Simpsons episode with David Hyde Pierce tickled me to bits. So
yes.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the lore if you've got the basic shape of it, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like just to give an example, like there's an episode where the son, Frasier's son, because he spends his whole time like pretending to not be anything like his dad, and they discover that if he gets drunk, he becomes an intellectual again, speaking French.
Right.
Like, you know, like that's cute. You know, it's sort of like, it's not very weighty, but like it has fun with its premise. You know, like.
Okay, I'll keep it in mind. Maybe when I finish Deep Space Nine, that'll be I'll just stick this on the background. Yeah. Well, I suppose while we're dwelling around Paramount, I think the verdict is Star Trek good.
Yeah, let's. I've got a list here. Let's go. We've done this before in this year, but super quickly, the health of franchises. And Star Trek's as good a place to start as any, because look, going over this, Star Trek has had a very good year. I know there was like Prodigy, like faffing about, but that's not down to the fictional creators, like, you know.
Yeah, like that's in terms of the actual storytelling going on, and even then, the viability of like that TV show has found its footing with Netflix. But like that's in terms of like actual Star Trek that came out. Did season 4 of Discovery, was that last year or this year?
No, that was last year.
That was last year. I only caught it this year. That's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was really good. This year we had the final season of Picard, unless they do a spin-off, which quite a lot of people I know who weren't watching Star Trek watched. So that's a good sign.
I think Patrick Stewart dropped the idea of doing a movie, and they're just so old.
Yeah. We've Strange New Worlds, which is the first Star Trek show I've seen advertised on a bus. Seeing that and Frasier on the side of buses just boggled my heads even.
Paramount's really out here giving you that big nostalgia lump.
Yeah, and Lower Decks as well. Another solid season. Like, so this feels like the first year where Star Trek isn't scrambling to find what works. They've got working stuff and they just let it get better.
Yeah, like I think it's fair to say the first few years of Discovery, you had ride or dies who kind of came along with it, but I don't think like it was quite. I don't think the general.
It wasn't the crossover hit that brought in a mainstream audience. No.
Yeah. But then it really started branching out. With Picard was probably a big part of that when it originally came out. But Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, they've all been kind of branching out, just expanding it to what Star Trek felt like in the mid-90s.
Yeah, like I know people who watch Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks who aren't Star Trek fans. That's that's a sign of a franchise's health, like.
Yeah, and like there's plenty for everyone. I think it's something we've said. Like, yeah, I know my dad hates animation, so he has no interest in Lower Decks, but thoroughly enjoying Discovery and Strange New Worlds. So like,
yes,
and then we've mentioned Prodigy for people because like I wouldn't in good conscience recommend a young child to watch Strange New Worlds, but then there's Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy's a weird one, and I know we've probably covered it before, but like it kind of does a nice balancing act of like being a show in its own terms and being a series 8 of Voyager, which is such a weird balance, you know?
I mean, it could be weirder. They could have a sitcom with Garak and Bashir.
I would watch that.
Oh, without hesitation, I'd watch it. That's a Frasier spin-off I need.
Yeah. And actually, I didn't have it on my list, but the short treks thing.
You did. I did watch them on your recommendation.
They were really good too.
They were a treat. Yeah, just a throwback, like as a celebration of the original animated series.
Yeah,
stuff.
like Spock making people cry during his roast.
Yeah, no, I think Star Trek, as far as like a franchise, I think is doing very well. There's not a lot on the horizon for it, but I think there's enough to keep people excited. Like we know,
yeah. Well, they don't need to like reinvent the wheel now. I know they're saying, "Oh, Section 31," but I'm not fussed. Just keep making the good stuff that's already going. You know,
considering that's a Section 31 film with Michelle Yeoh, absolutely, I am fussed. Give me that now.
I know, but like, what I mean is, I don't need Star Trek to reinvent itself a 16th time. Just keep the good stuff coming. You know?
No, we know we've got season 5 of Discovery is sometime early this year. Whenever it's produced and filmed, there'll be Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. Like, there's more to come. Like, I think we're in a good place with Star Trek.
Yeah. I should also briefly mention, because I know we covered it recently enough, but new Doctor Who, Christmas Day. Have you seen any of it?
No. Again, I am suffering from the there's nowhere good to watch it in Ireland problem.
No, but Shushi Gatwa and the new companion, the character is called Ruby Sunday. I think the actor is Millie Gibson. But anyway, the 3 anniversary specials were really, really good. They were like really good in really different ways. Like it's hard to top like opening with an ET like type parody thing, then a horror, then a big bombastic Neil Patrick Harris playing Q face off.
Yeah,
like with the Doctor turning up early, so you get to know him before his first episode, and then you've got Christmas, which was like, I suppose Labyrinth, you know, the 80s film. Like,
it was interesting.
The premise, which I won't spoil too much of, is that these little goblins are following around this character Ruby Sunday, and that's how the new Doctor kind of gets on her trail. And they just cause her to have lots of bad luck. She's being interviewed by Davina McCullough being an orphan, and then a Christmas tree falls on her. Like really ridiculous, over the top. And then they have to rescue a baby from goblins who are singing and who are going to feed this baby to a giant like puppet goblin. Like, and they're singing a song about it. Like with the singer's called Janice Goblin. Like, excellent. Like just... And the song's a banger. It's really good. It entered the charts.
No, I like it's definitely like it is the first time I've actually actively wanted to watch Doctor Who.
Well, that's
since
just
I fell off. So yeah, BBC, get your stuff together. Give it to me. Make it easy.
And I bring this up because now Doctor Who has this like Marvel-y Whoniverse logo. Before it started, I have mixed feelings about that, just as a very protective fan, even though I spend loads of money on extra books and plays and stuff. But it's nice to see life in the thing. It's the same as Star Trek. It's nice to see people excited about it, you know?
I get the feeling like it, even though I know it obviously kind of does almost rebrand every new Doctor, it definitely feels like more so than any of even the previous like 3 generations. This one feels like we're really like, this is from scratch Doctor Who.
Oh, and they're putting all their like resources and money into it. I only just found out recently that big puppet thing, the goblin that's gonna eat the baby and stuff, is being puppeteered by the puppeteer of BB-8.
Oh,
which I mean is cool, but he's just a big fat guy who sits there, you know. So there is, I think we're still in a phase of they're showing off what they can do, and I don't think a show can live off that forever. But you know what? We're getting Jinx Monsoon in a historical episode about the Beatles.
I've heard.
Give me more of this, you know.
Yeah, no, it's one I definitely want to keep my pulse on. I will probably jump in sometime.
I'll send you DVDs. It's fine.
Yeah, post me.
I know the Marvel one will eat the time, so I'll just cover Star Wars very quickly, which is this year. As far as I'm aware, I may have missed something. We had the second series of Visions. We had the third series of The Mandalorian, and we had Ahsoka. Did you catch any of those?
No, I'm going to take your word for what that was because this was the year I decided I'm stopping with Star Trek or Star Wars.
That's fine.
It has exhausted me to think about.
It's a weird year for Star Wars because Visions. You saw the first series. Basically, you know how that first season was lots of different Japanese animation studios being do a Star Wars and do it whatever way you like.
Yeah, I heard the second one was a lot more kind of international and American studios.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sure, the Irish studio that did the Bread Maker and all that kind of stuff, the Book of Kells did one. Like, you know, we had Aardman did one, which we get watched once a week in this house. We had some like ones from India and all that kind, and a French one, which is gorgeous. Like, you know, so that was cool. That was nice. I'm glad they're keeping that up.
Actually, if I may interject just because of one small tangent, while I didn't watch Visions, I do need to give a plug to one more plug to Kazazimoto, which is much the same sort of thing as Star Trek Visions, but it is absolutely divested from any franchise and it is African mythology. Continental African mythology. If you like Visions at all, I cannot recommend this enough because it is all absolutely gorgeous Afrofuturism sci-fi in that same sort of anthology vein. Big ups. It's great. Anyway, back to Star Wars.
You're absolutely right. Mandalorian Series 3 was very strong, and it also felt quite conclusive. I won't say what happens in it in case anyone hasn't watched it, but it felt like that chapter of Star Wars with the likes of the Boba Fett's and this and that and the other was coming to a close. It felt like they were ending the Mandalorian being the main character of Star Wars for a while, which is good. I like endings. There aren't enough of them, frankly. So that was good. And Ahsoka is controversial in our house, but I enjoyed it. And it clearly like is putting a plot forward for Star Wars, which is not a bad thing. You know, a direction is always welcome in these franchises. And it's something Marvel's been lacking for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to have a goal. I would segue into Marvel, but I just want to say there were 3 DC movies this year and I saw none of them. And I'm sorry.
No, we don't have Dara here to tell us about the Flash.
Can you even name the 3 DC movies that came out this year?
Do you know what? I can because it was. Do you know what? I can't. It was Shazam, it was the Flash, and it was Aquaman.
Fair dues. Okay.
Mostly because I saw a scene on Twitter of Wonder Woman cameoing a child's funeral in Shazam.
What?
Yeah. Just absolute like.
Oh, and Blue Beetle as well. Sorry, Blue Beetle.
Oh, that was a DC. Yeah. No, I the only interest I have in watching any of them is morbid curiosity.
Yeah, I think that might be the first year that DC has overtaken Marvel, at least in terms of cinema releases, and it's all to get rid of their properties functionally.
If they released 4, yeah, that's more than Marvel put out in movies this year.
Yeah, although they are clearing it to make room for their new lot of things, so it's not like they have a driving passion.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, no, they're clearing house.
Yeah, clearance sale kind of thing. Well, then, unless you've got any major topics, I just want to recap the Marvel situation. I literally just finished What If Season 2 before we hopped on here.
Before we do, while we are on the topic of Disney Plus, far and away the best TV show I watched this year was The Bear. If you have Disney Plus and you are much like I think what we're going to get into, getting a little bit tired of Marvel and just need a very good television show, The Bear is exceptional. It's about it's about I think it's Chicago, a Chicago-based chef who is used to working in the highest class 3-star Michelin restaurants that is all stress, taking over his dead brother's like down the street sandwich shop and trying to run it like a gourmet restaurant. It is so darkly hilarious while also being the most stressful show I've ever watched. Every actor puts in 100%. It is engaging, it's dramatic, it's exceptional. I cannot recommend it enough. There is a Christmas episode that has me on the edge of my seat, just pulsing every nerve of my anxiety. It's
kind
incredible.
of talk me in and out of it now.
Yeah, no, it is seen to be believed. And again, great year for Ayo Edebiri, who plays Sydney in it. She was also one of the two leads in Bottoms.
You were telling me, yeah.
Great teen raunchy comedy movie. Definitely hits that kind of Heathers style cult classic about two lesbian teenagers starting a fight club to get girls. Exceptional stuff. I believe she was also the mule in the Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh yeah, my God, that was a last year film.
Yeah, so great year for Ayo Edebiri. Go watch The Bear. Cian, what's the story of Marvel?
Yeah, well, we had three. First of all, let me just recap very quickly. What If Season 2 was very good. They did a very clever thing of releasing one episode every day over the Christmas season, which I don't think it got a lot of attention, but it's nice. It's a good change of pace. They're dropping all of Echo like at the end of this week in one day, which gives me the sense of like, okay, we're clearing house for something new, but still a lot of strong ones. They had like a really good episode about a brand new Native American character because it's a what if. It's what if the magic QB thing, Tesseract, landed in South America during the Crusades and some hapless natives got some superpowers. That's nice. Like some strong outings. Like there's a lovely one we watched this evening where, do you remember Hela from Thor 3?
Oh, Kate Blanchett. Yeah.
Where she gets banished to Earth instead of Thor, and she ends up in China in like the 10th century, and ends up like kind of redeeming herself and meeting the Mandarin like character, and like ends up kind of becoming a hero. Like, oh, and a great one where like Star-Lord as a kid lands on Earth in the 80s with his evil superpowers, and the sort of the heroes of that day from the 80s like have to, like, you know, your 80s Ant-Man and kind of Tony Stark's dad and Black Panther's dad and all them have to team up. So you've got like, again, I think What If Season 2, it does something really well, which is that it takes these slightly more obscure Marvel characters and just pushes them to the front, which if you're going to do it, that might as well be what you do with it. Like there's an entire episode about Nebula being a space cop. Like, you know, we've got enough Captain America and Iron Man stuff. Take these cool characters and give them a bit more space.
I think that's what I liked about was What If Season 1 was just the kind of the creative freedom that it kind of gave.
Well, that's
lesser
just
known
it.
characters.
Yeah, and they do a lot more with Captain Carter this year. But like
they're really trying to make Captain Carter a thing. They're really trying their best.
Yeah, they'll get there someday. But no, it's hard to quantify if it was a good year for Marvel or not, because the films were Ant-Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and the Marvels. And then the TV shows were What If, Secret Invasion, and Loki. So you could make a case for this year being stronger than last year, but it's very much ebbs and flows. It's ups and downs and ups and downs, you know?
I like the vibe I got from this year was the year I think people started checking out.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Like it's like we talked about it last time. Like while Ant-Man was a pretty big success, being what was it, like the 6th, 7th highest gross movie of the year, I don't think anybody really,
it's the law of diminishing returns. Yeah.
I don't think anybody really rated it in terms of like a memorable Marvel movie that was a lot of fun. And especially now that like what the situation with Jonathan Majors, I
and all
think.
that. Well, that casts a huge shadow over.
Yeah.
I
He's just kind of like he's now no longer the big supreme bad guy. I'm more the bad guy of
Well,
that one
they're still
Ant-Man.
it's still going to be Kang. It's not just going to be Jonathan Majors, and they've ported the Loki writers over to write Avengers 5.
Yeah.
But,
so
you're
then-
right. It's the first major punch in the armor, isn't it? Like
That's it. And while Guardians 3 was an even big success, that's already established. And I think a lot of people saw that as the swan song for James Gunn more than anything else.
more than
So
a Marvel film. Yeah.
Yes, that had its own irregular peak where I then thought we saw the diminishing returns of Ant-Man show up with the Marvels bombing.
Yeah, I do think that something that isn't talked about is the Marvels was hurt not just by that, but the fact that it came out like a week after the writer's strike ended. So there was no promotion for it whatsoever.
Yeah, it was a combination of things where I think you had that diminishing interest, the writer's strike giving it no promotion, and it also needing to it being the first major release where it felt like you had to have watched 4 very disparate pieces of media to be locked into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that's true of watching the film, but I could see if you hadn't seen it, I could see why you'd feel that.
But that's it. Before going in, you'd think it was I never really got around to watching Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
That's it's an aspect.
Yes.
And then what was the TV shows? It said Loki and Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Were the other ones.
Peaks and valleys. Secret Invasion was kneecapped by The Night Agent. The Night Agent was a much better version of that story.
Yeah, Secret Invasion was one of the ones I watched the first episode, thought it was interesting, and never went back to.
Which is weird. We're at time, unfortunately, but I'll just say this very quickly. I liked it fine, but it feels like you have a John le Carre story about literal shapeshifters. Why is this not more suspenseful? It just feels like you're utilizing the premise incorrectly, you know?
Probably for the same reason that a lot of Marvel things kind of fall, is that they can't have long-lasting circumstance. They can't have long-lasting consequences.
At the end of this story, they have huge implications on the universe. So, if you're going to make a mess, make it an interesting mess, you know?
But that's saying so it's about 4 other Marvel properties, none of which have been paid off. Remember the giant god creature sitting in the Eternals? Nobody talks about it.
It's long. I supported Phase 4's let's go back to the Phase 1 spirit. But yeah, there needs to be a direction by now.
Yeah. And then we've talked at extensive length about my thoughts and your thoughts about Loki. I'd like to kind of summarize. I thought it was a show with a lot of rocky middles that eventually made up for it at the end. And I think you liked it as a kind of a workplace drama.
Yeah, I mean, and it's starting. It feels like Marvel's gradually course correcting, but it might be a bit too late. We were watching What If, 2 episodes a night here, and sorry to spoil the ending, but Stevie kind of said, "Oh, could you imagine somewhere poor Loki is holding all these multiple universes together?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what's good about Marvel. It's all connected, except it isn't right now."
Yeah, so that's and I think to kind of wrap it all back to what we were talking at the very start of the episode, the excitement just isn't there for it anymore, and I think the people need something else, and that's why we got the groundswell for Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to the Young Avengers. I think that's got not even intentionally, but I think they've put a lot of good work into making that something that could work based on the characters they have in their roster.
Maybe I think the big one I'm excited about is the Thunderbolts, and that's just out of sheer fascination to see how they pull that off, because that feels like putting the most random group of people in a room and figuring it out.
I don't mind that though. It's because you've got your one from Seinfeld, whose name Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and you've got Florence Pugh leading a team of misfits that is basically supposed to be Suicide Squad. The more obscure the characters are, the better.
That's it's just kind of sheer, as I said, sheer fascination. I'll see, but that's there's not a lot of everything else in the yard. There's also just not much on the horizon because of the writer's strike kneecapping them a bit, and a noticeable lack of direction. They're just
this is the first
there's a
time.
Scramble.
I know Echo is coming out this week, but that's It is rumored, and this should always be taken with a pinch of salt, that that's all dropping at once because the higher ups that be aren't happy with the quality of it, which for a show that has the Kingpin in it is a bit of a bad sign.
Yeah, and that and the rumors, I think that they're basically completely redoing the Daredevil show.
Yeah,
from the ground up. Yeah,
like is the next thing Deadpool 3?
It might be. I can't remember off the top of my head.
To be honest, a year off cinema for Marvel would not be the worst thing in the world.
No.
Let it keep ticking over on Disney Plus for the people who care about it, you know?
But yeah, no, I think taking a break and just kind of coming back with a big headliner could be something.
And it should be said that because Marvel is a machine, it could be that as early as like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they realized they needed to course correct, but it was all already made, you know?
Yeah.
Which should be said for like people who work on these kind of things, like.
Yeah. Now, this part is for Dara to edit out.
Well, I should before
no,
you.
No, this is
that,
no. This
we've already
is
gone 2 or 3 minutes over. Should we just do movies from next year as well?
Well, actually, no. This is what I was. This is production notes.
Okay.
We will. I think we'll end the radio show here,
right,
and then cut to an after dark segment for Spotify. And then talk games and next year. If you're able to keep recording for a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll kick in with the outro. Well, that unfortunately is all the time we have for this week here on Nerd to Know Basis on Phoenix 92.5 FM. However, if you go over to Spotify and all of our other streaming services, we are going to talk about the year in review of video games. Because again, we mentioned at the top, this was a very stacked year for everything.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't all fit it inside the one radio show. So please check us out, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're going to be streaming the episode there. You can find all of that and all of our other socials on nerdtoknowmedia.com. You can also find our Patreon there if you like what we're doing. You can tip us a few bucks, always appreciated. And is there anything else, Cian, you would like to plug for the good people?
Just to have a happy new year.
Just have a good year. I really do genuinely hope everyone out there has a good 2024. And until next time, I have been Kev.
And I have not been Kev.
And we will see you next week. Unless you
Plot
are on
twist.
our streaming service. Unless you are on insert name of streaming service here.
Yeah.
In which case, welcome back. Hello.
Dara, could you leave like an awkward 30 seconds of cricket sounds so that people check and see there's like 20 minutes left and don't know what's going on?
Welcome back to Nerd to Know After Dark.
Maybe the sound's just walking away down a long corridor.
Where we are no longer constrained.
A car
by
speeding off.
Hold on, Darry. I'm gonna leave my mic on. I'm gonna get Foley of me walking out and turning on the ignition of my car.
Just like some exotic animal sounds as a door opens.
Yes, the exotic birds of these.
Kells!
But yes, welcome back to a very special episode of Nerd to Know Media After Dark. Where I think you, well, I know you want to look forward to 2024 first, but I think I really do want to kind of talk about how, on top of the movies and the games we've already talked about, the movies and the TV shows that we've already talked about, big year for games.
I should say this is all you.
This is all me.
The newest game I played this year is like that Star Wars game about the clones. I'm very out of the loop.
Yeah, no, I didn't play a lot this year, but I did play what I think is probably the two like totems of gaming this year, which were Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
Frankly, look on any gaming website and you'll see one or the other be interchanged in Game of the Year for incredibly good reason. They're both exceptional pieces of game design. I'll start with Zelda because I think I did an extensive review on this back when it came out kind of earlier in the year, but it takes the bones of the go anywhere, do anything exploration of Breath of the Wild, and expands on that and opens up the toolbox. It feels like a game where they opened up what would be a developer toolkit and gave it to players.
Well, that's the vibe I heard. Yeah, that you could sort of go crazy and a bit Minecrafty with it. Yeah,
that's it. And like I'm not a person that likes crafting in games. I don't. Weird as it sounds, I don't like the freedom to do anything in a game. I need clear and direct instruction.
Yes, I get what you mean.
But because I get otherwise I just get overwhelmed. But I never felt that sense of overwhelming with Tears of the Kingdom, because the build mechanics are all so tightly defined. But if you stop to think about them for even a minute, they rock the very foundation of how a game is made. Because, intuitively you think, oh, well, if I stick a mast on a log, I make a boat. But if you stop and remember, it's like somebody had to you don't just stick an object to an object and makes a boat. That had to be specifically programmed. That doing them makes that, and the physics involved and the physical change if you throw another log on there or put a rock on top of the mast, like it. And that's like the bare bones of this, because there is physics to do with flying and wheels and weight distributions that, like, just from a game design perspective, just baffles the mind of the amount of time and dedication, and for it all to just work intuitively. It's a masterstroke. So throwing in that as only one of the kind of the new major power-ups that you get, and the rest all being on that similar level of flipping the script of how a game is designed and played. Like, the one that still shakes me is there's the ascend ability, which the whole idea of it is that you can, if you're standing in a cave, you can target the roof and just jump up through it and swim up through like that surface to the top.
Right.
And it fully, like, it redefines how you think about things like dungeons, because you could be fully just in a cave system, have a thought of, oh man, it's going to take me forever to climb my way back out of this. And about 3 minutes later, you're like, wait, I have an out button, and shoot up. And like the game explores and the game design, the world design factors that into account. So it's not even it never feels like a cheat button. There are puzzles and traversal mechanics that depend on it. It's so interesting. Like nothing feels like chaff, and nothing feels wasted or left on the cutting room floor with it. And add into that the fact that it has one of the more ambitious Legend of Zelda stories I've ever played. It's a testament. It is an exceptional piece of gaming.
Okay, and do you think it's superior to the original? The Breath of the Wild. I mean,
I would say so. I think if I went back to play Breath of the Wild, I would have a distinct feeling of, oh well, why can't I do this?
Right.
Especially considering, like, I think like one big criticism people gave it is that it's all the same world. It's it's the same Hyrule that you had, but now with an underground and sky islands. But I mean, that was a meticulously designed world that took 8 years to make. I'm not going to begrudge them for just using it again.
Right. No, like I said with Star Trek, if it's working, keep it going. Like,
Exactly. But yeah, no, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom would be far and away the best game to come out in a year that didn't have Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
Because that is a game that truly baffles me how they can fit every aspect into it. It is.
I'll be honest, I've never heard of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
To be fair, I'm not surprised. They're old PC games. Right. They were originally BioWare games back before.
Oh, that explains a lot. Okay.
Back before BioWare made like the original Mass Effect and Dragon Quest. Like they are old like PS1 era top-down strategy games. So yeah, no, it's no wonder not a lot of people played them. They are old. But what Baldur's Gate 3 kind of builds off of, it's not BioWare this time, it's Larian, it's Larian Studios who made a couple of very similar type games. Divinity Original Sin is another one it's an original IP, but very similar in the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition system. But it builds on the groundwork of the succession of kind of fantasy RPGs from those old top-down point and clicks all the way up to kind of Skyrim to Dragon Age, and now kind of developing that line of fantasy RPG. But it's what truly sets it apart is scale, because it is a game where it's much in the same way as kind of as BioWare games of your Dragon Age and your Mass Effects. It's very narrative driven and choice driven. The game will constantly be bombarding you with conversations with NPCs and choices, but every choice matters and every choice is impactful, and the game remembers and gives you consequences for every single choice. And eventually
you say that and that sounds stressful to me.
But it all feels so natural, except for it all feels so natural. But eventually you're making these absolutely buck wild decisions about having a hag offer to remove the parasite that's infecting your brain, only to give you a hag's eye, and then have wholly distinct dialogue options for the rest of the game that depend on you having this hag's eye.
But see, earlier you said you found it stressful if like the game didn't give you enough direction, like
normally, but like I never felt like I was missing out on anything because I never regretted the decisions I was making. And if anything, it's even though it is a 200+ hour, lengthy RPG, I felt I have actively wanted to play it again to explore those different options. It's not. I get stressed out when I'm given freedom with very little direction. But Baldur's Gate is constantly giving you directions and constantly giving you kind of quests to fill out. But it never gives you the impression that, oh, you missed that, never mind. There's always that sense of progression. There's always that sense of accomplishment, no matter what decision you make.
Okay, see, I get that. But why were you and Katie drooling over the characters?
Oh, well, they're also incredibly pretty. That's because you are given like 6 party members and you can date any of them, and there's no bad option.
Do they find out if you date multiples?
Yes.
And what happens?
It depends, because some of them are into
That is not a good answer.
Well, some of them want to be in a poly relationship.
If I said what will happen if I walk into this dark alley and you said it depends, I would not go down that alley.
Well, no, it depends. Do you have the 8-foot tall barbarian Karlach by your side, or the very scrawny vampire?
No, if you say it depends, I will not go near it.
No, it's scale. If you think the scale is intimidating, I would still say give it a shot. Because
what console is it on, by the way?
I think currently PlayStation, PC, and Xbox.
Okay, all right.
I regret to say I do not see this coming to Switch.
No, I'm still waiting for Mass Effect to come to the Switch.
I don't know about Mass Effect, but for a simple fact of sheer size, I think currently the game file I have sits at about 140 gigabytes.
Right.
There was simply, in a sheer sense of data storage, there's no way the Switch can run that.
All right. Well, fair enough. Well,
because I mean, you tell me you tried playing the Kingdom Hearts games on the cloud version. Do you want that for Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, but that was running off the internet. That's a different story altogether.
That's the only way that the Switch would be able to do this.
Oh my god.
No.
Even the cloud wasn't that bad. It was just the first 4 weeks. If you're willing to wait, it's not too bad. Like,
oh, just because of the traffic.
Yeah.
No, like that's far and away Baldur's Gate best game this year with a bullet. I'm still playing it.
It's not a new thing, but I'm looking forward to the final Ace Attorney games coming to the Switch this January.
Oh yes,
well, the final ports, I should say.
Yeah, because I think it's between those three that there's a couple of more I think side ones that never got.
Well, there was the Miles Edgeworth game,
sure,
but I just talking like the mainline, like Phoenix Wright-y ones, the ones that involve Apollo Justice. There was one DS game and then 2 3DS ones, so they're coming out as a trilogy in January, and I'm really excited for that.
It's on my radar. I still have to finish Ace Attorney 3, and then I'll jump into them.
That makes sense. You can naturally go from one to the other. Like Apollo Justice is just Ace Attorney 4. Although through some weird fluke of release on the DS, 4 came out before 3, and it was a whole thing. But I'm glad we're getting it in the right order now anyway. And like I said, I have not played a new game in at least a couple of years. One day I might. Does Peppa Pig or the Bluey game count as new releases?
I think the Bluey game counts as new, but I don't think it's good.
It's I find it frustrating, but it's a good game for what it is. We are still trying to get an Australian cake off a shelf.
To be fair, Cian, I think you're probably in the best standing because as I've really kind of like gotten in my soapbox about. The best way to buy a game is to wait a year and buy it when it's fully released and half price.
Well, look, I finished Final Fantasy V yesterday, and that's a game I've played hundreds of times. So, like, I'm not your person to sell new Call of Duty games to or something. If you want to sell me a game, release it in the 90s and make sure I played it. And that's the best way to sell to me. Like, the Personas are all up there. I still haven't got those. There's a Demon Slayer game. I haven't got that. I've looked at it. It's on my wish list. It looks nice. But I haven't got it.
From afar, it looks pretty. Well, I suppose, to wrap things up, speaking of looking at things from afar, let's look at 2024, the landscape before us.
Yeah, are there any films you're looking forward to?
Big time. But first off, I think it's fair to say there's not a lot coming out that I'm excited about, mostly because Hollywood was kind of closed for the better part of 2023.
Yeah, we discussed this off the air before we started recording, but a lot of the upcoming movies don't even have trailers yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of things got announced.
Don't have names even.
Yeah, I think a lot of things got announced when the strike ended.
Yeah.
And while they're in pre-production, there's claims they'll come out this year. I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But in terms of things that are at least firmly set, I've got, I'd say, 3 big exciting releases. And the first of which we at least know is coming out because it is done and they are released, and like it was simply just waiting for the strike to end.
Right.
And that's Dune Part 2.
Yes. I honestly didn't think it would get made.
I was confident it was going to get made. It was if Diddy was going to just release it.
Because we talk about Barbenheimer. For me, Dune was the moment. Okay, the pandemic's over and cinemas are back. That's what it felt real to me.
Dune was I think like Denis Villeneuve has that similar kind of like auteur star power that I think the Greta Gerwig, the Christopher Nolan do.
But not even just auteur. I mean, that film in terms of scale, you go, okay, this wouldn't have worked as a TV release.
No, he's a fantastic filmmaker, and especially the back half of Dune. Like that first movie was a nice, concise political thriller. The back half is the fact that he separated it where he does. We're in for a surrealist fantasy epic.
Yes, because I've read the book and I think they've made all the right choices in adapting it so far, especially compared to the Colin McLaughlin 80s one. where it's like trying to do the entire Star Wars trilogy in one movie.
Yeah.
Like you can feel where like an hour got cut out. Like
So yeah, no, like there's so much there, and then like some of the new casting getting announced just seems fascinating. Christopher Walken is playing the the Paddy Shah Emperor.
oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they're great. Like just really interesting ideas there. I'm so excited. I think that's set for March. That's the next one
Right.
that I'm big on.
Well, have you also seen the trailer for Argyle?
Yes, I think it looks fine. I'm kind of like lukewarm on the Kingsman movies and that director. Can't remember his name.
Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn. Like they're fine. I wouldn't go out of my way.
Yeah, well, I'll just say because you talk about auteurs, and he is one of the few directors who is kind of his own brand, you know, in a sort of an actiony type way. I mean, who else do you have? Like the Lock Shock 2 Smoking Barrels guy. Like I've got a soft spot for Matthew Vaughn. I think he always goes too far in his third acts, but there's enough charm that we did the 3 Kingsman films recently, and there's enough charm that holds it together, and I think makes it stronger than most other releases like it. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Like I'll wait and see if the reviews are good, but it's not something I'm going to be running out to a cinema to get to. Unlike, again, speaking of big auteur directors, I love me some.
Sony.
Oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? This is awful. It's Furiosa. I'm excited about Furiosa. Greg Miller.
Give me some Happy Feet and Babe Pig in the City and whoosh.
You say that. Babe Pig in the City is wild.
I've never actually seen the whole thing. I've watched Babe is one of those films I watch every Christmas.
Babe too. Like Babe is a classic, like front to back, like old school like Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Babe 2 is a roller coaster. It goes all over the place. And it's fascinating.
Was there a monkey in that?
Yeah, there was. While I was very nonplussed by 1,000 Years of Longing was the genie movie.
Oh, I really liked that one actually.
I think I was expecting more and was let down.
Okay. I watched it on streaming, but I thought it was a really solid film.
Yeah, it was. I went to see it the day I went to see 4 movies in a row in a cinema.
Okay,
and the other 3
Blackbird, was it?
No, it was that Bullet Train, a Dragon Ball movie, and the Jordan Peele movie.
That sounds like an exhausting day.
It kind of was, but also like I had 3 stone cold bangers of movies.
Yeah, okay.
That. But I have absolute faith in him in the Mad Max universe. So it's a prequel to Fury Road on Furiosa.
Oh, it's a prequel. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not Charlize Theron now. Instead, we have Anya Taylor-Joy playing a younger villain. And the villain is Chris Hemsworth, which I am so excited for.
Because he gets to go full Australian.
Yeah, he just goes full madball Australian man, and I cannot
get all the Hemsworths in this.
Exactly. It's like doing a film in like Sweden and getting all the Skarsgårds. But yeah, no, that's. Oh, actually, speaking of the Skarsgårds, I have a fourth because I am absolutely all in on Nosferatu.
I don't even know this.
Oh, do you know Robert Eggers?
No, remind me.
He did The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Norseman.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's taking his hand at like the old 20s Dracula Nosferatu movie, like full Count Orlok. Right. And I do not quiz me because I do not know which Skarsgård is playing Orlok. But it's not Stellan, it's one of the sons. I could not. I think it's Bill. I think it's the one who played Pennywise.
Right.
I will have to have someone fact check me on that. But no, Robert Eggers, again, another fantastic, like singular vision maker filmmaker. Lighthouse Witch and Norseman are all exceptionally made movies that are just like off-putting enough to be interesting.
There's a Skarsgård in the Northman as well, isn't there?
There is. I think it's Alex is the lead.
Right.
There's like 6 of them. I don't know.
Stellan.
No, Stellan's the dad.
Oh god. Right, we're gonna need a list.
Yeah, I need a mnemonic. I need a Skarsgård mnemonic.
Yeah.
That's it. I think Eggers in with the Skarsgård lineage. But yeah, no, that's like there's a promo image of Willem Dafoe in like full Victorian garb.
Okay.
Apparently he did a scene with 200 live rats. I mean, I can't
assume
wait.
he just lives with 200 live rats.
You think? But yeah, that's number 3, and then number 4, as a complete tone shift, is allegedly later at the end of this year we're finally getting Paddington 3.
Again, a lot of these things you're telling me don't have trailers. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's it. They
and
now,
even then, I'll be dubious.
Now, Paddington has the benefit that was not affected by SAG because that was a British production.
All right.
So that has been worked on since. I think it was wasn't it one of the leads? I don't remember which one had to leave because
not one of the main family, as far as I understand.
Yeah. But one of the actors had to leave because it was a SAG contract, so I think they replaced her. But yeah, no, very exciting. The Paddington movies are great, and this time it looks like the family's going to Peru. Wonderful. This make Paddington 3 better than Citizen Kane.
It's on track. It might do it.
But yeah, they're like my big 4. I think is of like kind of things to looking forward to next year. Anything you'd like to jump in?
No, to be honest, I'm looking through my list. There's nothing that really jumps out at me. I'm morbidly curious because we have allegedly 3 Sony movies coming out next year: Craven, Madam Web, and Venom.
Madam Web, unironically, I think it looks great.
I'll take your word for it. I mean, I didn't hate Morbius, but it just sort of went in one ear and out the other for all its anti-hype, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know. There's something about the idea of having, let's just get 4 Spider Women and put them in a room together.
Yeah.
That just seems very fun. And Craven, we'll wait and see.
I mean, like, if you talk about films, I'm looking forward to Dune 2. I'm looking forward to Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Oh,
I feel like that's an underappreciated kids movie series. I think it's solid, those films.
Oh, they're great. That's one that I think I'm on your side of the fence of. I will believe that when I get a trailer for it.
Yeah, but like if it not this, it will come because like they've been pretty like look at this way. They remade the whole movie in like 7 months and it turned out great. I have absolute faith.
Oh no, I've no doubt it's coming. It's coming this year.
Yeah,
and of course,
Eggmanless. But
it's Eggmanless, but we get Shadow.
Yes.
And I'm fascinated to find out that like that's the big casting excitement is who's going to play Shadow.
Well, that's just it. But no matter who it is, right near the end of 2, the chemistry between Sonic, Eggman, and not Sonic, Eggman, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles was lovely. I love that little scene of them playing baseball right at the end. I want a whole movie of that. Please don't do a Last Jedi and split them up into separate plot lines. Just keep them together.
Keep them together. Let them have fun.
Yeah.
I did get duped. There was a full troll post kicking around where Jared Leto announced he was playing Shadow, and I fell for it. I admit, I absolutely did. I think it was him.
Not even voice acting, just
in full rubber costume.
We also, everyone's forgotten this. We're getting a Joker 2.
Oh,
Gaga in it,
and it's a musical.
Yeah, actually, that's worth pointing out. A lot of musicals next year. We're getting a Mean Girls. We're getting a Wicked.
Sorry, we're getting.
I think
a lot of musicals that the advertisements are not telling us are musicals.
True, but I think Wonka is kind of opening the doors to the fact that actually people like songs and things.
Yeah, although admittedly, there's no wonder the Wonka didn't advertise with musical. The music in Wonka is incredibly forgettable.
Okay. But like I watched, it wasn't a this year release, but I watched the House of Gucci over Christmas, and that had Lady Gaga and like oddly enough Jared Leto in it, and it's like okay, like not the same director, sure, but like it's nice to be reminded that like yeah, she's a solid actor. That original Joker film was solid.
I'm
Could be
intrigued.
something there. I feel that it doesn't need a sequel, but if it's weird enough, go for it.
That's
yeah.
it seems like it's going for a completely different tone.
Yeah.
Again, I'll wait and see. There'll be a trailer, but those two just wild diversions from the original have gotten me interested.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of things I already plan not to see, like the Garfield movie with Chris Pratt. I will probably end up seeing it against my will, but it's just like it's kind of a lot of these movies, like original ones are great. Like The Fall Guy isn't my kind of thing, but I'm really glad.
I think actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, I'd be very into that.
Yeah, but that's
Gosling,
what I mean. It's an original property that people will go because it looks fun, and there aren't enough of those movies anymore.
Yeah, you know, Ryan got like it's a rom-com action movie, and I think Ryan Gosling, he if it's not that good, I think he still has enough
charm,
goodwill built up from Ken.
Yes, perfectly timed. You're also getting Rebel Moon 2. You actually saw the first one, didn't you?
I didn't. It was Katie who saw it.
Oh, sure. We need to get her on here.
And I think her review was exactly what I anticipated of a sci-fi movie that did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I mean, there's also franchise things. There's going to be a Godzilla and Kong movie. There's a Ghostbusters movie. Personally, I've not really any interest in those. I think the franchises, much as I am a defender of Marvel, I think the franchises have had their day. I think Barbenheimer may have marked the end of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to be bombs or anything. But I don't know anyone who's like super hyped to see films like the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, even though those are all solid films. Like, you know,
I don't think people are scrambling it.
I think that appeal might be waning out. Although I will say I am looking forward to Inside Out too.
It's interesting. Like, yeah, that's Pixar. You know, they've had enough of a solid output so consistently that's a draw, and they're usually and Pixar are very good at not milking a sequel that came out like a decade later. You know, the Toy Story sequels have all been. I think 4 was rocky, but it's not a bad movie. It's still like decently enjoyable, and 3 was very good considering it was like 15 years after the first one or something.
Yeah,
was it 10 or something? So I think Inside Out 2 has enough like drawing power where it's like, okay, they're doing something interesting. Yeah. And I think much in the same way, I think it's actually running off a lot of the same kind of idea of Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 3, where the target audience that would have resonated with it have grown up to the point where it seems like the themes of Inside Out 2 of going through anxiety and all those complicated feelings are going to start really hitting hard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But no, it seems like a lot of like there's a Beetlejuice 2, a Smile 2, a Gladiator 2, some kind of alien film. It seems like a lot of franchises are like kind of Despicable Me 4, Quiet Place. Like it seems like a lot of these things are gonna try, and maybe they'll be great. I don't know. But it seems to me that like the tide is turning against that kind of thing, at least in my opinion. Like,
oh no, I think you're pretty spot on. But I mean, that's like you're always going to when you're looking up things for the next year. The recognizable franchises are always going to be what's kind of first on the list, and it's those original IPs will crop up over the year, and like they'll come up when the critics kind of when they come out and people start to see them. Like, I would never have entered 2022 thinking my top movie this year is going to be a 3-hour Indian epic about two men who are the best of friends.
Yeah, but equally they can surprise you. No one expected Top Gun 2 to be the film of its year, you know?
That's fair.
It may, like I say, there may be a surprise in there. Beetlejuice 2 might change the world. We just don't know.
We just don't know. But that is for the year. That is for us to figure out this year.
Yes.
And I think we've prattled on long enough.
Hopefully, this is long enough to make a second episode.
That might have been it. Keane, it's 12:10.
Yes, I can hear the baby still talking in the next room.
Then I think, for our own sake, I think we'll leave it there.
Right.
Again, thank you all for listening. If you have stuck with us all this time,
please come back here to check how incorrect we are in 3 months' time. We have enough shame to, as long as you give us a click.
Please come back here and tell us that Dune 2 was awful. If it is, I will be sad about it. But once again, you heard all the plugs earlier in the episode, but check out our socials, check out our website, check out our Patreon. If you stuck with us throughout the past couple of years, thank you so much.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it. If you listened for an episode this long, you've been listening to us for the year, and we really appreciate you sticking with us. We're having a blast. I think we plan on doing this for a while longer.
We'll wake Katie up at some point.
She really needs to sleep.
Yeah, she's actually here. She's just asleep.
we keep her in the cupboard.
It's her happy place.
She's better there.
There's balloons in there.
But until next time, I've been Kev.
And I've been Cian. I think it's very late.
He's not been Kev.
No.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Hey, you guys, it's awesome to be here in Dublin. Dublin Comic Con, I choose you!
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.